Welcome to another episode of the Weeb Retreat podcast. We hope you enjoy your stay. We are the Weebs. My name is James. This is Germs. And today, as always, we have a lot to talk about. How you doing, Germs?
Fantastic. Ready for another spicy week of a discussion.
Absolutely. We experienced some technical difficulties last week on my end, of course. We were able to salvage the Promised Neverland Season 2 review and our thoughts on the new upcoming Madoka Magica film. So check those out. Those will be up in the cards above. We got a great show for you today. Timestamps will be in the description as always. So let's get right into the weekly roundup. My Hero Academia Season 5, Episode 6. What did you think, Germs? What did you think of this one?
Okay, it's kind of a repeat of last episode. So basically, I can just repeat what I said last episode. It's just like they focus on these side characters for just like an episode. That's all they really get. Like last week was Takayami and his journey currently, and then a little bit extra for what was going on in his fight, and then now this week it's Momo and now her little story. So it's basically just the same as last week with just a different character and different story. It wasn't bad. There was some interesting stuff like with the comic man with his onomatopoeias. I remember in the manga that was so meta. You like, oh, the manga man. So
yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah,
can we talk about that? Comic man, and then the other girl, Kendo,
Mushroom?
and her big fist.
Oh,
the mushroom ability too, but the big fist quirk, like. Dude, it's getting so hard to take the show seriously, man. Like, I know that it's hard to come up with quirk abilities for everyone. I know. I'm just bagging on it at this point, but when we're getting an arc that's kind of like this one, and it's not the best, and then you see quirks like these, it's just hard for me to take it seriously, honestly. Yeah, I kind of found this episode to be boring. Another highlight of another 1A character, some more action. Did you feel the same kind of?
Yeah, and I also want to just add this little detail. Well, we do bag on the show a lot, but that's because we really care about the show. But like,
yeah,
I was being a nerd, but like, literally the first 3 minutes and 10 seconds completely useless. It was a recap of the previous episode. I feel like I was watching like an old school like shonen, and then like the next minute was just like slightly recapping of what happened before. So like really like 4 whole minutes of the show plus the ending, just completely just thrown out there. And
you mentioned something old school shonen. You mentioned that. That's what My Hero Academia is, and you either love it for that or you might dislike it for that. I think when it's good, it's great, and when it's not, hitting the mark, it's a little bit boring to me. Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, those are the new school shonen. Those have spoiled us to where we go back and we watch My Hero, and it's just. These arcs are just slow. It's just boring to me, man. I had a question for you. So you've read past this in the manga, right?
Hmm.
Is there anything significant from this arc besides the fact that they're training? Like, is there anything that you need to know from this arc going forward?
The only thing is the
without
end.
Spoilers, obviously. Okay, so the end is very important, right?
Yeah, that's all it is. I don't want to speed through there.
Right. Yeah, as I'm watching this, dude, I'm thinking to myself, like, if I were to ever rewatch the series, which I probably will at some point, I love My Hero. Like, I know this is canon, this is in the manga, but like, can I skip this? I know. I sound like an ass, but it's just not hitting the mark for me, man. I just don't. They're juggling too many characters, and we just don't care. I don't care about them enough, and so I'm just finding these episodes to be boring. And yeah, I'm waiting. Like I'm just waiting for the end. I'm not in the moment. I'm not present. I'm just kind of, hoping that this episode gets done with and the next ones get done with, so we can get to whatever it is that is actually important to the story. Because right now it doesn't feel important to the story, and that's my problem with not just this episode, but this whole arc that we have going. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's also interesting that you brought up the manga because I just did a quick little check and seeing how far we are in compared to like the whole general series. And currently, I think it either ends or it started. This thing episode ended on like chapter 201. So we're whole 200 chapters in now, but currently there's 311 chapters. So we're only 2/3 through the story, and like this other third of the story, woo, some spicy stuff. So just it's kind of just like the slow little stuff before we get to the big juicy stuff, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing with My Hero. When it's good, like I said, when it's on, it's really good. But then you have these slow phases, and it feels like every season, half of it's a really good arc, and then the other half is like you've pointed out to me before as a non-manga reader, maybe something that was only, X amount of chapters, but they're really stretching it out for Bones to, fill a 24, 25, 26 episode season. So, unfortunately for this, I feel like they always start with the good one. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but it feels like with this season, maybe they're starting with the slower one. I don't know. I really don't have much to say about this episode other than when I saw Comic Man and Kendo's, oh, my quirk is I have big fists. It's just hard for me to sit there and take it seriously. So I don't have much to say. I thought it was boring just to get to the point. So that's all I have to say about this week's episode.
Yeah, I have nothing really else to say about it at all. So
yeah,
just another Boku no Hero episode, unfortunately. And
yeah, all right. Yeah, those are our final thoughts, I guess. I mean, it doesn't, not much to talk about there. All right, let's get into something that I think maybe we'll have a little bit more to talk about. Shaman King, the 2021 reboot, episode 5. What did you think of this episode?
I thought it was a little bit interesting. It started off with showing like the comments and all that stuff. Like, oh, we're actually now we're actually getting to the Shaman King stuff. The actual start of it is like gonna happen. And it's like, okay, this is like random like guys on the streets. Like, oh, is there gonna be another guy of another villain of the week showing up? And it's like, no, I'm actually like the proctor for the entrance to the exam. It's like, okay. And it's like, okay, we learned a little bit, Yo got his ass beat a little bit, little and then like, and as usual with the show, I feel like he's learning all these new experiences through the fights, not like a whole training arc to be able to learn how to get fit. What's his spirit's name? Amidamaru. Like, because before we're like, oh, you can't put spirits inside of inanimate objects, but it's like, okay, now it's like, oh, now you have to learn this skill like on the spot, or you will just fail. It's like, okay, now he's unlocked this whole new skill of what was it called, spirit something.
Shit, I don't know what it was called. We'll put a picture up on the screen right here, but basically, it solved my problem of trying to figure out for 4 fucking episodes before this, are they stands or are they just like symbolic? Now we know that for the past, he's only been fighting symbolically. Now he actually has a stand-like element where he's using the spirit as an actual weapon, as an actual power. So yeah, it solved that problem for me, or it clarified that problem for me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so for me, for this episode, I have a lot to say about this episode, actually. The first 4 episodes, I didn't have much to say. This one, I actually do have a lot to say about. So, by far, this was the best episode of the series. The first 4 were extremely mediocre. I mean, after watching the first 4, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be difficult. If this is 52 episodes, it's going to be difficult to sit through. This one has a little bit more promise. I understand why the first 4 episodes were the way they were. They were introducing us to the cast. And so we've kind of assembled the main cast, and then now we're going to start the Shaman King tournament. So I don't know. I think I watched the trailer and I was expecting the first episode to have the shooting star and explain what the Shaman King tournament is all about and what the Shaman King is, but I understand why they did it now. They wanted to build up the cast so that we're familiar with the main crew. Now we're going to start the tournament. Now we're going to get into, the real story. So, I get why they did that. But yeah, as you said, the real story seems like it's starting now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, you don't want to be just thrown right in. It's very rare and very unlikely for a show to just throw you right deep into the deep end, episode 1, and help you stick with it.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, lots of good stuff to talk about with this episode. I thought the OST was on fire, dude. It was really good this episode. And I looked it up, and partly why it was is because they played the original Shaman King opening during this episode. So I don't know if you knew that. Some trivia for you guys at home if you're watching Shaman King with us. So if you are nostalgic for the first series, you probably got a real kick out of that. We're not, we're new to the series. So I thought the music was great. What's the problem, man? It's a shonen. And I want the fights to be good because that's what we're watching it for. And the fights are a little bit lackluster. They're okay. They kind of get the job done. I'm not expecting Mappa animation. I'm not expecting great animation. I'm even fine with kind of sluggish, choppy animation for non-fight scenes, and then they go hard in fight scenes. Like, I'd probably prefer that, but it just doesn't. Maybe they're saving some of the budget for the later episodes, but so far the fight scenes in the show are just not doing it for me. And I realized another problem with this series so far. I had a lot of good things to say about. I'm not trying to bag on it now, but with this adaptation, you know what I have a problem with, Germs? And I went on Google Images to confirm my theory, and my theory is correct. So if you compare the first series to this new series, this new adaptation, the drawings look a lot weirder, and the colors are a lot brighter. Really bright colors in this anime. I was wondering if it's my monitor. Like, what's the issue here? No, that's just the way the series looks. And personally, I'm not a fan of the whole bright color aesthetic. We've seen Higurashi. Higurashi had a lot of bright colors. I hated that shit. Steins Gate looked very dull and had a lot of bright colors. Sorry to all the Steins Gate fans out there, but I did not like Steins Gate's visual style. Maybe this is a personal preference. I don't know if I can really bag on the show for its style because that's what it's going for, but I'm not a fan of the whole bright, oversaturated colors. The drawings look weird as hell in this anime, but I'm willing to look past all of that if we get good fight scenes. And unfortunately, the fight scenes are okay, but at least the main plot is kicked in. And by far, this was the best episode in my opinion. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, well, there's some weird drawings, but I think that's probably because in the manga, like what's Shorty's little name?
Shorty.
The Shorty, yeah,
whatever
Shorty,
his name is.
His name's Shorty from now on. Sorry, Shorty. But yeah, oh no, I sent the picture to James when I saw it. Like there's like a
We're
little.
We're gonna put it right here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be right. Wherever it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I saw that scene in the middle of the episode, I paused that as quick as I could. Like, I think it was like on the bottom, so like some subtitles were like covering over a little bit. Got rid of subtitles, screened that picture, bam, here you go. It's it's little random things. I'm surprised they even threw that in.
Yeah.
But that was just a little funny thing. I laughed a little bit in the middle of the episode. So.
Yeah, Shorty's voice is still annoying me, dude. And he's going to be part of the main cast. I mean, they're all at the house together and shit, so it's set in stone at this point. But hopefully I can get over that damn voice of his, man.
At least he's giving me some laughs, at least,
Yeah, he's giving me laughs, but, Yeah, also another thing, just to point out, in case we're wrapping up here, the new character that we got introduced this episode, I don't think super important because he was kind of there to get Yo into the tournament to get him to qualify, right? He mentioned that the shaman fight was in Tokyo. I know that this isn't a nitpick. I'm just curious, why in Tokyo, right? Because if shamans are all around the world, I'm just curious.
I know.
Do they pick it randomly every 100 years? Are they just like, nah, it's just in Tokyo? I don't know. I'm just curious. Maybe that'll never be explained. Maybe I'm looking too hard into things, but they mentioned that, and I was just like, I wonder why it's in Tokyo specifically. Why it's not a global thing. But again, I'm just more of a curiosity thing. It's maybe it'll never be explained. So not a big deal.
Well, the one thing that's interesting about that is it's like it seems like it's like Indian, not to be racist anyway, but it seems like Indian
Native American.
Native American.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
That was wrong.
Well, no. It's not. But he mentioned he was selling Native American gear. So, yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
I thought that they might be. indigenous to Japan because it's in Japan. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, you would think that like the tournament would be like in somewhere in America if it's Native
Or
Americans,
like South, like North America or like South America or something like that.
But
Yeah,
it's in Japan for some reason, even though
that
they're
was the only thing.
Guardians.
I know. I was like, he's like, yeah, the shaman fight takes place every whatever years in Tokyo. I'm like, oh, why Tokyo? That's weird. But yeah,
just little random little things. Probably doesn't matter at all.
Probably doesn't. All right, so well, you didn't talk much this episode. Final thoughts, Germs. What did you think of this episode? Anything in particular?
No, a little bit of struggle with the main character, a little bit of training, a new power unlocked. We're going a little fast, but I'm not too mad at it. I prefer a little faster show because I'm already watching so many in each season, so as long as they're not cutting out stuff like Promise Neverland and Tokyo Ghoul Re, we're all good.
Oh man, I don't even want to hear about those shows anymore, man. I got post-traumatic stress from those. Yeah, pacing for me, just to close off this week's episode, much better. Still a little fast, but I can hang with this. I just don't want the quality to be sacrificed for quantity's sake, for them to shove in all the information and get the story going. I just want the quality to be there. Yeah. And in my opinion, the quality was more so there than the previous 4 episodes. So better. I'm not going to say good, but better. I'm a little bit more happy with this one that the plot is picking up. But let's get into another one for our weekly roundup here, Germs. Don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro. Every week I keep thinking, oh, that shit was like the spiciest. This, even more spicy this week, Germs. Even more spicy. And before you get into your thoughts, let me just get into my thoughts because like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we did have technical difficulties last week's episode. Basically, my thought of last week's episode was that last week's episode really hooked me. The first 2 episodes, I wasn't sold on Nagatoro. Last week's did because of the underlying romantic / sexual tension between them. The fact that Nagatoro isn't just a one-dimensional character, that they're somewhat slightly hinting that maybe she has feelings, or definitely that she cares for Senpai in some way. So just the fact that they're hinting that has me hooked now. So just to clarify where I'm at with the story. But yeah, even more spicy this week, man. What'd you think of this week's episode?
Oh, a lot of spicy moments in this episode. Those red bean buns, man. Especially when it starts off in the beginning with him and her friends. He's all being bullied by them, and then she comes in and she's like,
That's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff I love. It's subtle. It's not in your face. It's every once in a while, but it's there. You know what I mean? It builds up our expectations that, it's not just going to be bullying for the whole season. Like there's something more going on here, and I really like that,
Yeah, it's nice to let the friends like instantly run away. It's not like they continue teasing them. Like, that'd be pretty assholes of friends if they continue bullying after like you told them to leave. So at least the friends are at least, nice in that way, where they just like, once Nagatoro was like leave, they're like, okay, they just start sprinting away. And then after that, then there was some real spice.
Well, let me clarify, because I don't remember the order of the episode, but the sticky hand scene, was when they were washing their hands, was that at the beginning of the episode, or was that after that scene?
I forget, honestly.
I for some reason I feel like the episode opened with that scene, went to the OP, and then went to the friends, but I could be wrong. Anyways, that scene, holy shit, dude! I was like, am I watching a doujin right now? Like, what am I watching right now? Like, man, they are really getting risque with the show, aren't they, Germs?
Oh yeah, but that and the other scene with the premium bun.
Yeah, for sure. But just to see all the liquids on their hands and they're holding hand, I'm just like, oh man, because this was a doujin artist before, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. You can tell, you can tell the writing's on the wall with that one.
Oh so yeah, I know, yeah.
But yeah, the bun scene was funny, dude. I thought it was so funny when she's all blushing and he's continuing to continue to guess with the bun, and her face is just like mortified. I thought that was so funny, man. When
But he
the
got his
comedy
ass
is done, exactly, yeah. Which would you expect, you know?
Yeah.
When the comedy is done right in this series, it's done really good. It's done really good. I was laughing really hard at that shit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought the OST was great. You know, I love the visuals of this anime. This
Mhm.
looks like a great adaptation.
I love the aesthetic.
Then
What they did.
yeah, everything. Yeah. For a second, I thought she kissed him at the end there. But remember when he closed his eyes?
The usual,
She
you
had
know.
me she had me fooled there for a second, but yeah, you know,
Oh,
it's
now,
only episode 4. You can't expect that yet, I guess.
and that was a really nice moment that they had there. You know, him trying to draw her, and then just like he's like, I can't draw her, and then like when she falls asleep, he's like makes a nice drawing. You're like, good shit, good shit.
Good shit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I other than what we've talked about, I don't really have much to say. Every episode keeps getting spicier, and I don't know how they're going to top that soap hand scene and the bun scene. I mean, yeah, they're just the spice is increasing every episode. This is the spicy show of the season. You want some spice? Watch Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Final thoughts for this week's episode, Germs. What'd you think?
It was a good episode. Exactly what I've been wanting to see, and it's only getting better.
Yeah, and for me, like I said, last week sold me. I'm still sold. Yeah, I can't wait to see where this one goes. So, yeah, if you're not watching this show, check it out. It's pretty spicy. All right, let's get into Tokyo Revengers episode 4. I got to start with you on this one. What did you think of this week's episode, Germs?
This was a pretty interesting one because, episode 3 was a lot of, in the past and getting stuff done and him meeting some of the previous members he was searching for and great moments there. But this episode was really just focused on the present time. I thought, this show was going to be mostly just in the past, him fixing that. But we had basically like a whole episode of him in the present and, what he can do and what he can learn, getting information. Because, Shit was good, man. Shit was good.
All right, let's fight. Let's disagree here.
Oh shit!
I thought this was the first bad episode of the series.
Oh my god!
And let me tell you why.
Oh, Mr.
All
James.
Right. It went from 0 to 100 too quick, man. Like they were really building up something, and then it pulled and erased on us, man. It pulled and erased on us. Now we're back in the present. I didn't want that to happen. If it's meant to be with the story, okay. But the pacing, it just what? Like we were chilling, we were fine, we're developing characters, we're getting used to his relationships. We met the leaders of the gang, and then bam, out of nowhere, this episode, he's back in the present, and I don't know, man. The pacing was just out of whack for me on this one.
Oh my, Mr. James. This is completely unexpected from my field.
I know, and I'm loving this show. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that I did not like this episode. But it's just one episode, right? We know that he's going to bounce from, the present and the past. So, I just, they brought up a lot of names this episode. We're still not, for me, familiar with episodes. We're watching this weekly. So, I don't know every single person that they're mentioning. We are, we're doing recaps of these episodes. So, spoilers, I guess. But why would you be watching this if you haven't seen the episode? Akun's death at the end of the episode when, he jumps off. I know it was spicy and you probably loved it. But for me, it was out of nowhere. Like, I'm not familiar. It just, I don't know, man. It just went a little bit too quick for me. But that's just me personally. Tell the viewers why you loved it, because I'm, bagging on it. But why did you love it, Germs?
Well, because for me, it came out. It didn't even come out of left field. Like when you saw the dude, you're like, oh shit, something like you would expect like the owner of what's it called in Japan, the Hostess Club, whatever. You would think the owner of the Hostess Club would be like nice suit and like some Yakuza shit, that's what he's part of. He's like, okay. He's like, maybe something's be a little like off because he just calls her like, yo, can I talk to your boss? I was like, oh shit, he's gonna get like stabbed by his friend or something. And then we get the reveal of like, like you see the guy, you're like, oh, he looks pretty fucked. Like he looks like he's not in a very good, a very happy place right now. And he's like, oh, like, and then you get the reveal of like, I'm the one that pushed you onto the train tracks. And it's like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, well, how did someone save you? How did they know? And it's like, are you from the past? And it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, how can you draw that conclusion? It just felt a little, I don't know, man. It just felt like there wasn't enough build up to that. Like he just kind of figured out that he can bounce between the present and the past. It just felt like he came to that conclusion kind of. I know it's not out of nowhere because he's been thinking about it for a while, but for the viewer, for the audience, it's just, our MC goes to the present and then bam, someone's already kind of figured it out. It just felt discombobulated to me. It just felt a little off pacing wise, but maybe I'll get used to it. Maybe we'll be in the present for the next couple episodes, then back to the past. I don't know.
No, I think probably he'll go back after like within like the first quarter of next episode, I'd imagine. I feel like a lot of the meat is in the present, but now he's got like a little taste of what's kind of going on. It's like okay, we get to see how some of his friends are dealing with stuff in the future, and he wasn't dealing with that very well at all, as we saw by him just jumping off at the end there. So.
Yeah, and a question I have that I kind of got confused with this episode, and every time traveling fiction is going to have this problem, but now that he's going back in the past, when he changes events in the past, are they changing events in the present?
Yes.
That he's coming from, right? But then does it alter the minds and reality of those around him, right? So like the cop that he's working with, is he going to start remembering events differently, I guess? Like because MC is changing events in the past, you know what I mean?
That is a good question because he didn't seem to know what changed between the previous and the last one. But I think he should have the ability to save his friend that just killed himself.
Well, yeah. The real question, because this is a question of all time traveling fiction, is like, does it create a splinter like other universe where other events happen, or does he change? Or are they still on one line and he's changing that one line? You know what I mean? So like the cop didn't recognize anything different that changed, right? But eventually, as MC keeps going back to the past, he is going to start changing things that will affect the present.
Big changes, yeah.
There's going to be big changes, and so my question is, is the cop, is everyone's reality going to be altered at that point in the present, or are they creating a divergent one? I don't know.
I have no idea. Yeah,
it's something that'll. It's too early to tell. It's something that'll come in every time traveling, fictional work. It's always a question, but yeah, I'm just curious about that because now we've gone back, we've gone to the past, we've gone to the present. Now I just want to see if, how it's affecting it and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, all right, final thoughts for this week's Tokyo Revengers episode, Germs.
I thought I think it was a nice little slowdown to the previous few episodes we had. It's been pretty spicy, so a little slowdown, a little bit more in the present, seeing what he can do in the present. And we'll probably go back and do it next episode, I'd imagine. So, yeah.
And for me, I completely disagree. I feel like this was way sped up as opposed to the last episodes. I thought that the pace went from 0 to 100 for me personally. So, all right, so that's our thoughts on Tokyo Revengers. Let's get into 86, episode 4. What did you think of 86, Germs?
I thought it was pretty good. They really nicely went into what at the end of last episode and got into that kind of subject of, can we treat them as humans? You haven't, learned our names and all that stuff. So there's a lot of like nice little moments between characters, her trying to like connect with them and then like connecting with Reaper and learning everyone's names and all that kind of stuff and connecting with them in a different way. So it felt like it's a weird feeling. It feels like a lot happened, but it felt like a nice slow in a way somehow. They really didn't do much, but it felt like a nice little pacing. It didn't feel like it was rushed in any way for what was going on.
Yeah, definitely not rushed. And I thought it was a good episode. The only problem I have with it is that really just much didn't happen. Like, she kind of made up with the 86, and that's kind of it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're definitely taking
closer.
their time with, a little bit closer, like, stuff like that. You do learn a little, like her father took her in a helicopter ride, and it looked like they were flying over 86
Attacked.
bases. Yeah. So maybe that's where her compassion for these people come from, because she learned the truth at a young age that they're being, marginalized, discriminated against, right? Maybe that's what that was. I don't know for sure. But other than that, I mean, just not much to go off of with this episode. It was solid. It concludes the problem. Yeah, it concludes what we had lingering from the past episode, but not much happened in terms of plot progression. So,
do you know if this is gonna be like a 12 or 24 episode series? That's a really good question to understand, because if it's gonna be 12, I feel like we should start getting into the juicy stuff. I would imagine this is probably gonna be like 24. I don't see how this can be a 12 episode series with the pacing and the setup of the story that's been going on right now, because it seems way too slow if it's going to be a 12 episode series.
Yeah, it seems a little slow to you.
Well, if it's going to be 12, but if it's like 24, this is a good setup for now they're all kind of friends in a way. They all kind of understand each other. So if this is 12, it's kind of a little slow, but if it's 24, it's pretty good.
It's worse, Germs. This season is 11 episodes, but you will have to assume there will be a season 2, or there will be some type of continuation. Oof. But yeah, the season's going to be, actually a second season has already been announced, by the way.
Okay, it's just one of those.
No date, no nothing like that. But yeah, this will be 11, and we're already. This is the 4th, and we're we are going a little slow here. That's no doubt about that.
Oh, okay. It's really weird to score this at the end, because it's like I feel like there's a lot of build up to a really great series. But once we're done with 11 episodes and the season's over, it's gonna be like, well, it was good, but like not much really happened other than just really good setup and world building. Those are really good fights, So
this is a great point that you're bringing up, and this is a whole thing that we can make a discussion out of. Trying to rate seasonal shows, because seasonals really changed the game of anime. Now you don't know when a story is over. Like Devil's a Part-Timer getting a second season. Like, you thought that show was over and you have your thoughts completed, but no, now it's going to continue. So you never know when something's going to get a second season, or if a show goes in limbo. Sometimes shows go in limbo and you don't get a update for years. So yeah, it's hard to judge a show off of, the first season or so, because it might be a lot of buildup and you might not get a continuation for a while. So yeah, it's a good point. It's definitely slow. So yeah, final thoughts on 86, Germs?
It's good relationship building and all that kind of stuff. Not, a little bit more world building with the character and all that, but not really much like actual stuff going on, unfortunately. But it was a great episode, just not really much really happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, for episode 4 out of 11, I do think it needs to pick up. Definitely, at least by episode 8, they need to have a third act, a final battle emerging, something interesting, a final conflict. For episode 4, it is a little bit slow. So, the first couple, I was like, but Germs, they're going to build up. Good stuff is coming. But no, I think I do see your point, now. At episode 4, we do need a little bit more. All right, so let's get on here. Nomad, Megalo Box, Season 2, Episode 5. Very different episode from the previous episodes this season. What did you think of this week's episode of Megalo Box, Germs?
Well, just real quick, I just want to go over the previous, just real quick, just because the way that, because I feel like the last episode was the end of like a whole arc,
Yeah.
We saw for Chiefs beginning to end, fantastic last episode. Unfortunately, we're not able to use that footage, but we thought it was a fantastic episode. At the end, we were like, so what does it go? Where do we go on from here? We were really wondering, like, what can they do from the rest of the series now? And with this episode, now we kind of get a little showing of what's possible and maybe what's going to be going on here.
Yeah, so last episode really concluded the Chief saga, kind of. You know, their lamb is now taken care of. Chief is now dead. Joe has kind of had his peace with him. The little shithead is kind of back in the family. He's not being a troublemaker now. And at the end of the episode, Joe, they asked him, "Where are you going? You're kind of family here now." And he's like, "No, like I have my own family problems to attend to," or whatever he said. Gets on the bike and he rides off into the sunset, right? So it kind of felt like the end of a season, but really the end of the arc. Going into this one, I mean, this is a whole new, like there was no real buildup for this one at all. We don't know where he was going, who he was going to see. Obviously now we do, now that the episode's out. But man, let's just talk about the tonal shift from this episode, from the first four. First four, heavy Spanish, Hispanic vibes, there with Chief and his family and the immigrants and them, the outcast theme, how they're kind of outcasts. Honestly, this fifth episode really almost abandons all of that. This feels like we're back to Megalo Box season 1. We're back on we're back in the slums, the outskirts of, the high-tech Tokyo. We're back to the electronic / rap / hip hop, whatever you want to call it, music. Like we're not even using the same music now. We've moved on from the Hispanic stuff to now, back to the more electronic stuff. This feels like we're back in season 1. This feels like if you watch season 1 and you watch this, like this kind of picks up right where that left off, tonally wise, right? Story wise, you'd be missing a lot of the first 4 episodes, but just tone wise, we're back to the original. And I don't know if I like that or I dislike that, because they kind of introduce something and they're kind of setting it down, maybe just for now. But yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. It's interesting that we're getting that old school season 1 Megalo Box vibes. Did you notice that? And what'd you think of that, Germs?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like if as you brought up, like if you just went straight from the end of season 1 right to here, you'd be like, oh, it's just an older Joe. Maybe you basically, they explain exactly what's going on. Like, oh yeah, he like left, his teacher and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, now you can see why the kid hates him and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's weird because like if you skipped all of this whole past 4 episodes and went straight to here, you wouldn't have any problems. But just the journey of seeing Joe at his lowest, and then at the end of the arc, now he's back. At the end of the arc, he went from the first episode, complete, druggy and all that stuff, and now we're back to normal Joe in 5 episodes. And now he's going back and dealing with his problems and what he left behind and ran away from.
Yeah, at 13 episodes for this season, you gotta wonder, did they have a 9 episode season and then they were like, you know what, let's make a little mini arc before we get into the main story or whatever, and we'll do 4 episodes where we meet him, he's down in the dumps, he meets these immigrants, he helps them, and then at the end, there's like a redemption arc kinda, and then these next 9 are going to be like the real sort of story. Not saying that it's not the real story for the first 4. I'm just saying like it feels almost kind of disconnected. Maybe they'll reference a lot of stuff back to these first 4. Maybe we'll get some of those Spanish vibes, and maybe we'll get flashbacks to Chief, and maybe he'll see the family again. I don't know. I'm just saying it just feels a little weird. It feels like we're back to the season 1 now. Like everything that happened before was kind of just build up to now, but now is the real story, I guess. You know what I mean?
It's really interesting to see because, like, originally we had like his teacher be like a ghost and all that stuff. So maybe like he's gonna have like that angel and demon kind of thing on his shoulder, like Chief as is good, then his original like druggy whatever like demons. But I'm guessing he has like these mentors on his back that he's carrying forward and trying to live up to the legacy and what they were striving for.
Yeah, I mean, this whole Chief arc that we're leaving now, those 4 episodes were fantastic, dude. This is absolutely a hidden gem. If you're not watching Megalo Box, please do yourself a favor, especially if you like combat sports. Look at me, I like combat sports. Look what I'm wearing. if you like action, if you like fighting, if you like boxing, anything to do with combat, you like anime, obviously you're watching us, go check out Megalo Box. This shit is so good. A lot of people like season 1, but people are sleeping on this season, man. It's not talked about. This is not big in the ratings. Like, please, the first 4 episodes were fantastic. Check it out. The OST for this episode was fire, dude. And I'm not saying I didn't like the music before. They really fit the first 4 episodes. But now that we're back to the old school Megalo Box, oh man, there were some tracks in here that were some good stuff, man. Some good stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, Joe is basically confronting what he left behind. I mean, he goes to, Team Nowhere's old gym. Now it's reduced to nothing. Sachio, we see Sachio finally. We knew he was coming. He wasn't really teased much, but now we see him, and he beats the shit out of Joe. Man, he beats the hell out of him, man. I was not expecting Joe to get jumped like that.
Well, I think he kind of just took it. I think he kind of understood. He's like, yeah, I kind of deserve it. I kind of did just leave for how many years,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. and yeah, I mean, like I said, we're back into season 1 territory, so yeah, and we're still learning about the backstory. What I love about this episode is that when we go back to the past, it's all in black and white. What did you think of that aesthetic when they would do that?
Yeah, that's good. It's a good way to know, what's the past, what's, it's a good way to show.
Yeah, and we still don't know. We know that Joe is probably not going to be there for Chiefs. I'm blanking on his name.
Nope. Nabu.
Something. We'll put him on the screen. We know what his name is. We've referenced him before. His mentor, OG mentor. We'll call him OG. We don't know why OG died, but we know that Joe wasn't there, and so that's the big hang up. We know that that's what pissed off Sachio and really pissed off the whole gang of kids. I'm intrigued. I want to, because we're still learning about the backstory, so I want to learn more about this backstory and see if Joe can maybe mend this relationship with these kids. I don't know. So, yeah. Final thoughts for this episode, Germs. What are you thinking of Megalo Box now?
It was good. Just interested to see what the big overarching thing was going to be for the season. We still have like 8 episodes, so there's still a few episodes to get ready to get the start off of what's going to be going on here. Is he going to be training again to go back into the ring, or is he going to train Sachio in any way, or what's going to there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, and for me, now that we're back in like season 1 territory, I would really like to see him go back to like Megalonia. Because he is, now that in the current episode, we're going backwards in time, right? We're showing flashbacks. He is about to fight, so-and-so. Maybe they'll have a rematch in Megalonia. That would be great if we could see that. So, yeah, I'm intrigued with this, and I can't wait to see where the story goes. All right, so that's going to be the weekly roundup. Before we move on here, got to ask you, Germs, and we're going to start doing this every week from now on. What was your winner of the week? Which show's episode really stood out to you? Which one did you enjoy the most? Which one are you most hooked? What is your winner of the week?
I wish I could pick some shows like Megalo Box and Revengers as my top, but the degenerate in me just loves it too much. But not Nagatoro, baby. It was just so good. So many spicy ass moments in there.
100%. That is my winner of the week as well. We are degenerates here. Let's give a round of applause for ourselves here on the Weeb Retreat. We are degenerates. Yeah, no, I thought it was so good, dude. The spice goes up, man. The spice just keeps going up, and everything else was good. Bar Boku no Hero and maybe Shaman King a little bit, but everything else was good, but not great. Not enjoyment wise. Come on, Nagatoro this week killed it. You either love it or you hate it, and if you're watching it and you love it, then this week's episode was really good for you. So, would you agree with that?
Definitely agree. I definitely agree on that.
Absolutely. All right. So. Don't toy with me. Miss Nagatoro is going to win our, our best episode of the week. All right, let's get into the weekly discussion here. We got a review on our hands of a new Netflix anime. Are you ready for this one, Germs? Are you ready?
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Yasuke. It's finally here. 6 episodes. The Black Samurai, based off of the historical figure. Yeah, let's get right into it. I'll start with you. What did you think of this anime, Germs?
Whew, whew. I don't know. It was a really weird feeling, you know. It was a really I don't know how to feel about like the mix of the old school samurai and the like super spiritual and like the mechs and all that kind of stuff. It felt a little jarring in a way, but the overall story was it was nice. I wish we could see a little bit more of the Nobunaga and like his rise from the bottom from being a servant to being who he is. I wish there was a little bit more of his past in there. We kind of seen some jumps and and some of that, but it was really, I don't know how to really feel about it. Like I don't even know if I even gave it a score yet because I don't really know. Like it wasn't.
Let's get into it here. So I totally see what you're saying. The mix, so this anime has a huge mix between feudal Japan. It's based off of a historical character, Nobunaga, the warlord that he serves under. That is a historical figure. He actually lived. He actually reigned at one point. But it goes from feudal Japan to mechs and fantasy, like magical stuff. It's very interesting and I don't think it blends well. I'll just say it here at the top of the review. It's not bad. It's not.
It's jarring.
It's jarring. If you like action and you just want to see people get their heads cut open and shit, it's fun. But as a story, if you're really trying to get into something, it's too. It
all
just
over
doesn't
the place,
mix
man.
too well.
It's all over the place.
Let me give you an example, right? So if they want to do a feudal Japan story, but back in the day, all this stuff existed, mechs, fantasy. Okay, you can try and work that in. You can do that, but make it consistent, right? Every time we get a flashback with Yasuke, none of that shit is happening. It's just samurais battling one another with their swords, with no magical elements, no mechs, none of that. And then we get to present day, which you'd have to assume is only a decade or two in the future. I mean, it can't.
I think it's like 2.
Yeah, it can't be that much. It's in Yasuke's lifetime, right? And now we got. Think of the band of misfits for the first 3 episodes and later on too. But we got the stand user with his little 2 spirit buddies. We got a giant mech. We got a girl that turns into a beast. We got a Catholic priest that's in feudal Japan for some reason. It's interesting, man. It's interesting. We got these people that throw up, like these ninjas that throw up. I don't even know what the hell you'd call them, and all the spears come out of them.
Yeah,
these like paper bombs or something.
Talismans, whatever.
Yeah,
it's just a weird mix, man. Like, I think I really would enjoy this. I think the show would have been totally top tier if it stuck with just the feudal Japan, none of this mech or sci-fi. Yeah, we love it, but for a 6-episode thing, it kind of just muddled it, and like we had some giant, spirit on spirit battles that felt totally useless. It's like I came here to see Yasuke, and
me too. Okay, so so we don't like the setting. We don't like how the elements of the show. Let's get into the action and some of the other stuff. What did you think of the action of the series, Germs?
I think the action and the fight scenes were really beautifully animated and like really cool with some of the spirit and stuff. Like when the girls when she goes ham and starts throwing shit, it's like really cool. Like when that first beginning battle where it's like huge armies and giant mechs. Like this is some crazy ass shit, And it's just but like other than like if you take all those moments and like compared to wait, this should be like about Yasuke, it's like none of those moments are really about Yasuke. I really want to see how badass and how cool he was, but I felt like it was just like a weird mix of like a little bit of Yasuke and then just all this other random bullshit that you don't really care about.
Yeah, so let's just say this from the top. If you're expecting a historical anime that is maybe like loosely based off of his story, but maybe like the action scenes are a little bit dramatic, or maybe like there's some powers to it. You don't go into this with that type of expectations. It doesn't really cover his journey. It covers his journey a little bit, but then you go back to the present day and you have a bunch of crazy shit going on. So if you're expecting a good docuseries on Yasuke in anime form, you're going to be severely disappointed. And I feel like Mappa was aware of that, because the very first episode, the very first scene of the first episode, you see you remember the big battle, the war scene. You see mechs flying, you see powers and shit. Like right from the first minute of hitting play, you know that this is going to be some fantasy shit. So yeah, just know what you're going into. You know what I mean? Going into this, I had two scenes that I wanted to see that were historical. One scene they animated, the other scene they did not. But the scene that I wanted to see that they did do was when Yasuke is introduced to all the Japanese people. They want to scrub him down because they're like, why do you have all this dark stuff on your skin? They've never seen a black man before. So, you know, I don't want to bag on it too much, but I feel like they could have made that more comedic or more, you know, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Because that was, you know, when you read about Yasuke, that's a big story. That they've never seen a human with dark skin, and that they wanted to scrub him off. The whole backstory with Yasuke is that there was no black samurai at the time, right? He was a foreigner. He was an outsider. He was a slave. I mean, they use the term servant. I don't know why. I mean, there's tons of blood and gore in this anime. I know that it's not trying to be historically accurate, but I don't know why they wanted to tone that down a little bit and use servant instead of slave. I mean, it's, you know, but anyways, he was a servant, gained his freedom through fighting. And yeah, his whole story is that he's an outsider. They wanted to scrub his skin because they had never even seen skin like his before. They didn't know that people of African descent existed. You know what I mean? So I got that scene, but it wasn't as funny or it didn't hit as much as it could have. You know, but yeah, so curb your expectations going into this, but the fight scenes are good. You know what this reminds me of, Germs? It reminds me of another Mappa show. God of High School a little bit, right? The fight scenes are good, but if you're looking for a really engaging, serious story, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. This story, I took Yasuke more serious than God of High School. Because God of High School was that's just went into crazy shit, right? But I can see how this could be more disappointing because you're expecting a grounded story about Yasuke and you get all this crazy shit.
It's the name of the show, you know?
Yeah, and if they kept the fantasy element throughout the whole runtime, it would have been a little bit more seamless. But every time you go back to Yasuke's history, you know, he gets in fights and it's just sword fighting. It's just normal non-fantasy stuff. But then you get to present day and you got mechs, you got all types of crazy shit. You got Saki, who has, you know, her psychic powers and her telekinetic powers. I mean, I just wish that and Yasuke, if everyone has powers, why doesn't Yasuke have powers, right? Like, do some people have powers and others don't? Again, if you're going into this trying to look for a serious story, you might be a little bit disappointed. You would think Yasuke would have some sort of fantasy power to him because he's the main character of the series, but no, you're not going to get any of that. So definitely curb your expectations going into this one. Did you watch this in dub or sub?
Well,
let's hear it.
I personally watched it in sub because you know, he spoke Japanese. You know, it's all Japanese, so it's like, okay, you know, I kind of want to hear how him speaking Japanese and all that stuff. I listened to the dub bit. Sounds good. You know, it's Netflix dub. You never go wrong with it. But I just felt like it was a little bit more historically accurate to go to the sub. Just, you know,
right.
That's where he is from, where he is at, you know, and all that. So,
and if they were definitely adapting his life in a more faithful way, then I feel like that would have been a little bit more warranted. But yeah, this has mechs and stuff, so it's it goes off the rails. The sub was good though, I assume.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you watched in dub.
I watched it in dub just to see what it was like. The dub is really good. If Netflix can do two things right, they do really good dubs, and the soundtracks are always good. Awesome soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
This show,
Oh yeah.
such an eclectic range of music, and it all fits. It feels black, but it also has like electronic stuff sometimes. Then you go to more old school Japan sounds they throw in there, like
Yeah, it's a
just
really interesting
really
mix.
a wide range of stuff, and I feel like they did a really good job on it. Would you agree with that, Germs?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The only thing that was a little weird was the OP. It was a lot more chill than I was expecting. I felt like
Yeah, it was.
I felt like I could have just taken a nap or something, or like it wasn't bad. It was just really weird how slow and like the visuals were kind of more like kind of felt really weird visuals to me. But it was okay. But all the other music and everything, whew, nice mix, nice mix. But it's Netflix, so it's great to see that they're continuing up with the quality they usually do, unlike some other shows.
Yes, and we'll talk about it in just a second. Yeah, musician Flying Lotus is the composer for the series, and yeah, that's another thing to talk about. So they contracted Mappa to do the series. I think we can both agree, without knowing your opinion, I think we could both agree that this was a much better series than name escapes me, Way of the House Husband, which was contracted through JC Staff. So when Netflix works with with a right studio, they can get us better animation and better fight scenes and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think the direction of the series, storyline wise, was a little bit off, as we've pointed out. Anything in particular that you want to talk about before we wrap this up and talk about future plans for Yasuke?
I thought there was a little nice little moment when the little like when the rogue chick, it was like episode like 4 or 5, when like the rogue like was in the towers, like, oh, I hear something, like they just get killed and the robots are like, are you there? And then it's like, oh, friend, you there? And it's like, oh shit, and the robot just like self-destructs in sequence initiating. It's like, oh shit. It's like the robot felt his friend's dead, and it's like, oh shit, self-destruct. And I'm like, ooh. But that was just a random little thing. But dude, magic is, I just have this in big letterings, magic is too OP. Like whenever any magic would show up, like, oh, anyone that doesn't have magic,
OP. Yeah, definitely agree with that, because if you don't have magic in this universe, like Yasuke, how does Yasuke even survive? I don't understand, man. It's almost like 20 years ago they didn't have magic, but nowadays they have magic. And Saki, which is basically the secondary character of the series, you're going to be following her a lot. I thought it was going to be the boy that they introduced in the beginning, but really it's Yasuke's journey with Saki, yeah. And I wish that they would have had more bonding time, honestly, man. Like, she looks up to him, he's protecting her, and we just didn't get enough good character stuff with them. Instead, we were focused on crazy, ridiculous fights that kind of meant something. Maybe they didn't mean much at all, but come on, if we're gonna have those two characters as the forefront of the series, I really would have liked to seen them interact more. Maybe like a father-daughter type of relationship, like a mentor. She looks up to him, but she's also strong and protects him as well. He's not just protecting her. Like, they could have gone some interesting areas with it, and not really. It just kind of falls flat.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like if they got rid of all those extra random scenes, all those other side characters, they would have had time to fill it in with all those kind of moments. Like, remember like that whole like they're like, oh, leave us, and Yasuke and Saki went off to their thing, and then they're like, oh, let me protect this temple, and like, oh, let's go defend this temple and all this other stuff. And it's like all those random side moments that didn't really mean much could have totally just been time spent towards Saki and Yasuke here. I feel like they really went into the side characters a little too much, and really should have focused on Yasuke with these 6 episodes. It's only 6 episodes. Why you go into other things?
I know. And yeah, I mean, I can say good things about it though. The voice actors were great. They have Johnny Young Bosch. If you're into dubs, or if you know anything about him, he's done a bunch of great stuff. He's done Vash the Stampede from Trigun. He did Ichigo from Bleach, so you're gonna notice that voice in there. Voice acting's great, action's great. the setting is too discombobulated for me. It's too all over the place. I really, really liked when they'd go back into Yasuke's story. Those were the best moments of the show. His relationship with Natsumaru, the spy, the chick that he would train with, and right before he kills her, she's like, you know, he basically is like, you were a spy. There's no honor in this, and she's like, well, not completely. Like she wasn't. Their relationship wasn't completely a fluke. Like she did enjoy the time with him, but she also was loyal to her master in spying on Nobunaga. They went into that a little bit, and I like that they went into that, but they could have went into that more, in my opinion, because that was a really, if you think about it, he's doing his job serving his army. She's doing her job serving her army. She admits to him their relationship wasn't completely fabricated. She did enjoy the time with him, but the question of like, was that really dishonorable? I mean, he's serving his army, she's serving hers. Like, if they asked him to be a spy, you know, you would assume that Yasuke would do the same thing because he's loyal to his lord. You know what I mean? So again, they could have went into that a little bit more. Every time they'd go to his past, I loved it, dude. Then they'd go to the present, and I found it entertaining. Right? I found the first villain of the show, the priest, very entertaining. We got to get into the villains here. The priest, very entertaining, a wacko. But what is he doing in Japan? Why is Saki so important that he's trying to track her down? And then the daimyo, which is interesting because the daimyo is historical, but obviously this daimyo is a fantasy creature, right? So I just feel like there was so much potential, and they really could have taken this in interesting, fun places. And it is fun. This is a very fun show. If you want to watch something fun like God of High School, watch this. This is fun. You're going to get a lot of action. But yeah, the direction was it was interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Any final thoughts before we give it a rating and talk about the future here, Germs? Anything in particular that you want to bring up?
No, I think I brought up everything that I wanted to talk about. Great action, you know. The Yasuke stuff was great, but there just wasn't enough of it, unfortunately. Especially with only being 6 episodes, I feel like they should have focused a little bit more on that. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, you know. So that's my thoughts on that.
What are you ranking it out of 5?
I really don't know. I want to give this a good score so you see more of it, and you know, but
let me ask a question before you get into this. Would it make it easier if I asked you out of 10, because we usually rate stuff out of 10 for like our mouths and stuff like that?
Out of 5 is fine. Out of 5 is fine.
Yeah.
Just more to like, you know, 5 is like, you know, definitely go watch it. You know, 4 is like, it was really good.
A 5 isn't perfect, but a 5 is like, I highly recommend this. This is the good shit. And then a 1 is like, stay away from this. This is terrible. You know what I mean? So for reference, for our past reviews, we gave the Mugen Train a 5, and I don't remember what you gave it, but I gave House Husband, Way of the House Husband, a 1. So just to show you, like a 5 is like you love this shit, a 1 is like stay away from this. I hated it. So
yeah, it's really hard. I feel like I want to give it like a 3. Like it felt like so average, but at the same time, it's just a lot of stuff I wanted to see, I didn't get to see. So I think I want to give it a 2. Unfortunately. You know, there's a lot of good stuff and nice little nuggets in there, and luckily it's only 6 episodes, so it's not like you have to like watch the whole 24 episode thing just to get disappointed. You know, it's 6 episodes. You know, you'll be disappointed if you're expecting Yasuke, but you know, if you know beforehand, there isn't too much about him. The 2, not great, not bad. It's just kind of meh, unfortunately.
3 is like average to you, so this would be like a little bit below average to you.
Yeah, below average, but it's 6 episodes, so like if you want to watch it, you know, if you're you want a little bit, go watch it. But if you just have other things to watch, I'd probably just say watch something else. Unfortunately.
Yeah, listen, I think LaShawn Thomas, the director, I think he took it in an interesting way. He's also worked on like the Boondocks and other great stuff like that. Yeah. I think they had a lot of good ideas here. They had a lot of material to work with. I'm not saying that Yasuke is the most documented person ever, but they have some stuff like that one scene I mentioned that they did, but I feel like they kind of didn't do it justice. I mean, Again, I was fine. We knew kind of going in that there was going to be some fantasy stuff. I wish it was more
Max, yep.
consistent. I wish Yasuke had abilities if everyone else has abilities. I'm not asking for everything to be explained, but maybe just something. It just felt a little weird to me. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Great voice acting, great music, great fights. Visuals are great. Animation, no problems. Mappa did a good job. Not the best of their performance, but they were just contracted to do a little 6-episode Netflix series. If you want a fun series, watch it. If you want some great action, give it a try, especially if you like samurai stuff. This reminded me of another anime series, Samurai 7, which the Samurai 7 are also a historical group. And that show had mechs. Very bland, forgettable show. I watched it like 10 years ago. I don't remember shit from it, but it kind of reminded me of that. So yeah, Yasuke, it was there. For 6 episodes, you can't really go wrong with 6 episodes, right? It's not like we invested, a full runtime into this. So yeah, Germ's going to give it a 2. I'm going to give it a 3. But here's some Yasuke news before we do leave you guys hanging. Flying Lotus, the musician, which I referenced earlier, and executive producer of Yasuke, tweeted that the 6-episode first season is just the beginning. So we're going to put that tweet right there. And yeah, so there's big plans for Yasuke in the works. Maybe this was just an introduction. If there is a season 2, another 6 episodes or whatever they do, are you going to be interested in watching it, Germs?
Yeah, I hope I'll watch it. I hope it's Mappa again. So
Yeah.
you never know with Netflix kind of stuff. So I'm definitely interested to see more. Hopefully, I don't know how it's gonna stand out. Maybe they'll give a little bit more backstory. Now we'll actually focus on him and Saki and their kind of parent father daughter relationship. So if it focuses more on that, I'm excited. Hopefully it doesn't go too out wacky with the powers, but if it stays consistent with how stuff is going, I'll watch it. Not gonna be super excited, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point that you brought up. If Mappa picks this up again, I will watch. If it's not Mappa, I don't think I'll watch. The biggest point of this series, you're not here to really learn about Yasuke or his historical significance. You're here really for the fights. If it's not Mappa, and let's say it's JC Staff, right? Let's say JC Staff picks this shit up. I ain't watching that second season, but if it's Mappa, I'll continue. Hopefully it's not something ridiculous. Maybe it'll be another 6 or so. Netflix really does their own thing. You know what I mean? When they license their own anime, they're the Netflix model, the bingeable model. I found the show to be very bingeable. They drop a whole series all at once, so yeah. All right, so that is our thoughts and our review on Yasuke. We hope you guys enjoyed that. What did you think of Yasuke? If you guys checked it out, leave a comment down below. All right, guys, and we just finished recording, but guess what? We're back. We got some news. Breaking live. Look at us, Germs. Breaking from the Weeb Retreat headquarters, right as we're recording, literally an hour ago. The podcast episode is, definitely going to be over an hour. Made in Abyss, season 2. Finally, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, baby.
What do you think? What do you think of this, Germs?
I'm super excited. The visual looks really interesting and weird. It isn't. It seems like we're deep in here. We're not just looking normal creatures and stuff as always. Luckily, so it's gonna be some. I haven't. The movie is where I stopped reading personally because I was so busy at the time. So this is all new territory for me and you. So.
What did I say? What did I say in the Madoka review? I said, we're going to link it up above. I said, there's certain shows that you can't just stop because the story is not concluded. The one I cited was Made in Abyss, and here we go. We had a movie continuation. The movie was fantastic. You got to go check that out. Made in Abyss is a great series. One of the best series in recent years, honestly. I'm hyped. You never know these days if something's going to get a season 2, if it's going to continue, if it's going to get a movie, right? Like we're still waiting on Trinity 7. We can name a billion other anime that we're waiting on continuations for. Made in Abyss, wait no more. Season 2 coming 2022. The title of the second season will be Made in Abyss, Golden Town of the Relentless Day. Typical Japanese title. Yeah, and not a movie, a second season. So I think we can expect maybe 10, 11, 12 episodes, one core run like the first season. Hyped, super hyped. Love the first season. First season is good shit, right, Germs?
I would super agree. Super agree. And initially, it started off a little weird, a little slow, but once it hits, it hits. Well, I was a fan right after. Once we got to like that fourth layer, that real super big spice. Big fan since. Big fan.
I know.
And that
movie was great. Animation is great. Just the whole story. We're gonna go deeper in the abyss, baby. Second season.
It's only
deeper in the abyss. We're gonna find out what the hell's down there. So, yeah, when this second season,
even more spooky.
Even more spooky. Whenever this comes out, we don't have a season. We don't have any. It just says 2022. We're gonna show you guys the tweet. Whenever this comes out, you can absolutely expect that this will be talked about on the podcast and part of a weekly roundup. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to this. I know you're looking forward to this. So, yeah, Made in Abyss Season 2. It's coming. Let's get into some weekly thoughts here. I'm going to throw a random one at you, Germs.
Always ready.
Last week, I finished another show, live action. We're getting away from anime. We're stepping outside our comfort zone here. It is an MCU show, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, WandaVision. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Or seen it. Yeah. So, I finished this shit. Just wanted to talk about it for just a few moments here.
No problem.
So, if you guys are interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would highly recommend this. This is so after Phase 3, after, Infinity War and Endgame, the whole universe is kind of, they're going to take it a whole new direction without getting into spoilers into that series. And I won't get into spoilers into WandaVision at all. But for the fourth phase, because those were the first three phases, the Infinity Saga, this fourth phase is not only going to have movies, we're going to have Disney Plus original TV series. And we have WandaVision. I think we have like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out. A bunch of stuff coming out. She-Hulk, I think. I've only seen WandaVision. I think right now it's WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I haven't checked out that one, but WandaVision was surprisingly good. I didn't think I would like it, bro, but it was good. Basically, the series for the first, when you start it up, it's a sitcom between Wanda and Vision, and the sitcom takes place in the 50s for the first episode, and then the second episode it's in the 60s. Next episode, 70s, 80s, 90s. So, yeah, it was a thriller. It was fun. I don't know if I liked it as much as I like other MCU movies. Like, I don't know if this would stand alone as good as some of the other stuff. But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you guys are interested in the Marvel movies or superhero movies. I'm a total sucker for superhero movies, man. I love my superhero movies, mob movies, 80s movies, and superhero movies. I love superhero movies. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in the Marvel Universe and you guys are keeping up to date with that, don't sleep on WandaVision just because it's a TV show. Because at the end of WandaVision, something happens that it would be nice to know going forward. It might be a little bit like, how did this... Because you can watch these movies out of order and stuff like that. But if you want a character's backstory, you got to watch, like the movie they came from and stuff like that. So it might be important for you guys to check out going forward. So... I recommend it. I thought it was a good time, and yeah.
I can always talk about magic. As always, every week I always go to my my Friday night magic with my new boys, play a bunch of games and all that stuff. So if you in your area around here, if you have a local game store, a little interested in magic, or you played a little bit of magic but had no friends, super recommend going to a local game store and hanging out with the crowd and talking to other people if you haven't talked to people in a while. It's a super fantastic time as always. So,
yep, that's right. Weebs. Germs is getting into magic. He's not just dipping his toes in. He's jumping in. All right, Weebs. We hope you enjoyed your stay. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We do apologize for last week's episode and the technical difficulties on my end as always. If you enjoyed your stay, make sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you're a weeb like we are. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, give us a follow there. Any final thoughts before we conclude this episode of the Weeb Retreat, Germs?
just a lot of good episodes. A little disappointed in Yasuke, but kind of should have known if I saw the sci-fi and mechs and all that. But other than that, a lot of good episodes. All the good stuff is giving me the good stuff. So excited to see what happens next.
Yep, good stuff this week. Good stuff this week. All right, Weebs. Weebs out. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.